Allowable expenses.
Oh, sorry, allowable expenses.
That's where we're heading next.
So the allowable expenses, we've had quite a few questions about this one. So we'll try to answer them. If you have any other questions about some ideas or thoughts on what you think should be claimed, let us know. You can always connect with us afterwards if that question comes up. So,
give me 1 second.
Yep.
Pull up mine.
for those of you that are joining online, also there's a link to a file that you can go to. It's a guidelines from that's available through the government website.
Exactly, and so what we'll do is we'll kind of go through some of it. You know, what is allowable expense, and I want everyone to keep in mind that as we go through these allowable expenses, there's your mandatory ones.
Yes.
And those mandatory ones would be your wages, of course. There's your Canadian pension plan. There's your EI, which is employment insurance, vacation pay. Those are WorkSafe BC, your CRA, Canadian Revenue Agencies, right? So those are expenses that you have to pay. You have no choice. And generally those are around, you know, probably about 18%, 17% of your overall budget, right?
Yes.
Are the mandatory expenses. Now, any other expenses that you choose to add on has to come out of the budget that you have. So even though we're going to go through all of these ones, it doesn't mean that you're going to get more money from the health authority. The health authority has already given you, they have given you the 6 hours a day, for example, for your 30 days, so that's your 180 hours, that's your $5,300 and some odd dollars, right? So you have to work it all within this, okay? So let's go through this. So optional, so some of the optional items are medical premiums, so like the MSP, which has gone up. You know, it used to be $60 for one person and $102 for a family, for example. You know, now it's gone up, I think, to $75 or $80 for an individual and stuff. So sick pay is an option. You can provide sick pay of 2% or 3% to a maximum of 5 days, as you can see there. You can provide extended medical and dental benefits. The reality is they're expensive.
Yes, they are.
Right, and as much as you're allowed to offer it, where do you get the money from? You reduce the amount that you pay in wages, right? Mm-hmm. So remember earlier we were kind of figuring out how we can give ourselves more hours, right? But as we gave ourselves more hours, the employees' wages had to come down. Yeah. This would be the same case if you're going to try and add a medical and dental plan. You want to incorporate these in it, and would mean that that hourly rate would have to come down. So, you know, somebody who gets 10 hours a day, for example, can pay somebody $230 in wages, approximately, right? And so, again, if you're going to offer a medical dental benefit, you probably have to reduce it by about $10 a day to $15 a day to afford the medical dental benefit. So you need to determine what is more important, that you're, what do you think is going to be most important to your employees? And again, it depends on what kind of employees you have. If you've got a lot of families that are working for you, mothers or fathers that are working for you, the medical dental plan is very important.
Unless their husband or wife has it in their job.
Right, yes, that's true. And so, but I do want to say that we are working as a resource center on a medical dental plan that is affordable for people on the CSIL program. So please get in touch with me if you're interested in an extended medical dental plan. We're about another 2 weeks or 3 weeks away from really having a good understanding, but it allows us to, the plan that we're working on is going to be able to pull in with about 150,000 other employees, which actually will change the way, because what you have to do now is go to a Blue Cross or go to Sun Life, and you're working on base 3 employees. Well, you're not going to get a very good rate with 3 employees. But if you can combine it with 150,000 people, all of a sudden, it may cost a little less, but you also get a better package
Yeah.
for your staff person. So, and I should probably get you to put in our email address again.
What's your email address?
It is now, it's brand new today, by the way. We have a new email address. It's Paul.
I can't keep up with your email.
I know. Paul at
Yes.
IFRC
Society.
.org. Yes, I'm really excited. It's our official final.
IFRC.
Yes, we've gone through 2 or 3 of them in the last little while to try and keep costs down and stuff, right? And we found a way to do it reasonable here as well. So, so again, medical and dental benefits have been a real struggle for most people on the CSIL program. So do get in touch with me, and we can set you up now through the resource center to be able to get a good price on this. So, the next thing is shift for premiums. So what that means is generally that, if you're paying $15 an hour and you're asking someone to come back for a very difficult shift. Let's say you ended up having an accident, and you have a leg bag and it busted, or something happened that way, and so instead of paying $15 an hour, you can then move up to $16 an hour, and that's what the premium shift means. That you can for specific shifts, for emergencies and things, you can pay a little extra to help cover some extra costs. Orientation and training, the range is from $100 to $300 per employee, but basically it's whatever the shifts are. So if you're paying somebody a flat rate of $230 for the flat rate, then it is expected for a new employee that you can do up to two shifts of a 24-hour shift that could be funded through your CSIL fund.
Okay.
Right. So again, this has to come out of somewhere.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
So hopefully you've got enough surplus to be able to cover off that kind of premium. Now, a lot of people don't require an assistant to really do 2 full 24-hour shifts to be right next to another person. You could, in fact, have them come during the prime times, right, where most of the personal care is done, especially if you're able to verbalize your own situation. If you're not able to verbalize, then it's going to make sense that that they do a complete following up.
Right.
Accounting can range from $100 to $250. So basically, it's just like, the max can be $250. A lot of bookkeeping services have a range in regards to, I know with the Individualized Funding Resource Center, for the full package, it's $250 for the full package, but that includes coming to your home twice a month, helping you write the checks every month, doing all of the components of your T4 slips and everything at the end of the year, and just doing all of the aspects for you. But we also have a sliding scale that if you're able to write your own checks, for example, and we don't have to come to your house, or maybe only have to come to your house once a month, or none at all, right? And again, it just depends on your situation. For me personally, I just physically can't write the checks. And I don't want my personal assistant to write those checks for me. I want someone else independently writing those. And so that's why, for me, I would do the complete package myself. But everybody's different and have different abilities. So, it lists all of the different bookkeeping components and stuff that is expected to be done by a payroll person. So this should give everybody a bit of relief, by the way, because it's the whole accounting part that scares people the most on the CSIL program, is that how am I going to figure out how much deductions are going to be and stuff. So unless you're somebody that has a real interest in this, people are generally doing the payroll through somebody. Bank charges, and these, by the way, are recommendations, by the way. They're not necessarily hard and fast, right? So $0 to $20 is expected for your bank stuff every month. That when you get checks, sometimes they cost $30, $40, right? So it's going to jump up and down a little bit, right? And that's going to happen. Administrative expenses, so you'll see here that You could, get a printer ink for your printer, especially if you're printing things off for your CSIL funds, right? Photocopying, stamps, those kinds of things can all be charged up to approximately $400 a year. Again, if you actually do it and you charge it, it's coming out of your CSIL funds, right?
Exactly.
Advertising, anywhere from $200 to $1,500 is kind of,
Pretty big range.
it's a big range because there's some people in the in the rural areas, for example, it's really difficult to find attendants, right? And so they're putting ads in the local papers and stuff because that's where you're going to get them to respond easier, right? Yeah, you can use Craigslist and things like that and use free, and we're going to talk about different places to advertise. But there's sometimes where you just need to use the money side, but there's also a lot of free places to do it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Recruitment facility that in regards to that you can hire someone to assist you to manage your recruiting. So that could be from our services. We're able to do that where we can provide you 3 or 4 or 5 people for you to interview. You still are the direct employer. You're the one still making all the decisions.
Yes.
But there's a process here where we can help facilitate the process. And then if you're having any problems and stuff, and we can help do evaluations every month or every 6 months or so, those kinds of things. The items, there's first-time expenses like for first aid kits. You can pay, $20 or $40 for gloves and other things that are necessary. Gloves are for, when you're doing your personal care stuff. But as noted at the bottom here, please be aware that if you're with the Ministry of Social Development, and on PWD benefits, they should be able to pay for your gloves and those kinds of things, okay? There's a food area where if you have a live-in attendant and the person is there with you for 24 hours, and it's a live-in attendant, and they're not paying any room and board, you can have $10 a day for food allowance, right? So it is a tax. It is a tax benefit to your to the employee and stuff. So and the employee themselves can get the $10 direct, or you can give yourself the $10 a day to make sure there's food and stuff in the house for them to eat.
And then it wouldn't be taxable for you as the employer.
It's not taxable to me, but it's still taxable to your employee, if you're offering that aspect. If you're providing them dinners and lunches and stuff.
Yes.
But again, this is only based on a live-in position. So if you've got only 6 hours a day, you're not eligible for this expense.
Right.
One-on-one hospital for up to 1 month. This was a really important one for us to get in. By the way, a lot of these expenses is something that the Association of CSIL Employers and people like myself and others really sat with some committees and discussed allowing these things to happen. And this one was really important for people, was to be able to have their regular personal assistants be able to go with them to the hospital.
Okay, I see. I see, right.
So there's times where somebody would end up in the hospital, and because of the nature of the disability, the needs were too high.
Yes.
Even going to the washroom, you can't do it on our own, right? And it's usually one staff person helping 6 or 8 people in the hospital sometimes, right? So, you have to ask him to be able to do this, but it can be done up to a 1-month period of time. That is really important, yeah.
Is it commonly done?
It is commonly done, absolutely, and it's something that was really, really important for people with disabilities.
Has there been a bit of pushback from the different health authorities when someone tries to go?
There was before there was a policy on it, but now we have a straightforward policy that says that you can have the one-on-one support if you request it.
And where's that policy available?
It's right in your contract.
Perfect.
Right in your contract. Perfect. Alternative decision makers, so that's just the expenses in regards to your society, right?
Oh, yes.
Or you have to submit every year as well to make sure your society stays active. So there's costs to that. You're allowed to you pay for that through your CSIL funds.
Right.
The representation agreement, you can up to have a one-time expense of $50 towards the NIDA's sign-up fees.
Right.
They have a fee, and they can help you do that. So that's a really good thing. So non-allowable and are things like homeowners insurance, tenant insurance. And then some people are quite disappointed that one's not there, right? Because your tenant forgets to lock the door or something
I
like
see,
that, and
yes.
somebody
Yeah.
breaks in, right? That kind of
Right.
stuff. But unfortunately, that can't be paid for through the CSIL program, and we have to be aware to make sure we lock our doors. Automobile insurance can't be paid for. Supplies and equipment not in the allowable list. So there was that list of gloves and
Yes.
stuff you are allowed, but beyond that. Food costs for caregivers that's not a live-in. We talked about that. Spring cleanup and expenses such as carpet cleaning. Can't buy Windex and stuff like that to clean the windows and stuff. Even though your tenant might have put their hands on the windows and stuff like that. Medical supplies cannot be purchased. Transportation costs for workers. We need to go back and look at this policy because we used to have a policy where you were allowed to do bus passes for your assistants.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
and that's because they were coming back, and that's very clearly not allowed at this point. So that's the allowable expenses and non-allowable expenses, and I think that if you've got questions or thoughts on that or other things, definitely don't hesitate to let us know. But I think, I'm noticing the time, Fernando, and boy, we were going to get into two other things, but I think we did it. And
I think we should wrap it up and leave the rest for our next session. As we've said, there is a lot of information, a lot of really detailed bits and pieces that we need to cover, and
it's almost mind-boggling. It's almost, you feel discouraged before you even start.
That's why we're trying to lay it out as detailed as possible in this session here, and then have this available as a resource later on. So when you have that question, you can go and pick and choose the topic that you're wondering about.
And really, at the end of the day, the idea here isn't to try to make it overwhelming. We very much want to make sure that the information is available for when you need it, right?
Yes.
And a lot of the detail that we're going through, people don't need right now, right?
No.
So Fernando is going to do an amazing job of cutting this up a bit so people can pick and choose the sections that they're most interested in. I noticed there was a question.
Yes, what about paying for physio or OT services outside of what is provided through community rehab? I haven't been able to find any evidence that this is allowed. We get the question time quite often on the InfoLine.
So great question. Unfortunately, on the CSIL program, you cannot use it. No, the funds have to go directly for the wages or for the purpose of benefiting the employee. Perfect. Right? I think that's probably the best way to sum that up.